Few sites on Earth are as majestic or as treacherous as the jagged region of Brittany located on the northwest coastline of France. Here can be found the legendary Carnac stones, a collection of over 3,000 massive rocks, arranged in rows and other shapes, and spreading across more than 2 miles of French countryside.
You're talking thousands of stones that are aligned in straight rows, aligned in circles, aligned in squares and rectangles. Why are people doing this? Why are they putting so much time and energy into something? And the short answer, I believe, is that we really don't know.
According to local legend, the megaliths were originally invading Roman soldiers, turned to stone by Merlin the magician. But if it wasn't magic that created this forest of stones, who or what did?
Modern archaeologists would say that people who were one step removed from cavemen were quarrying these giant stones, some of them weighing 100, 200 tons, even up to 350 tons, and then somehow moving them into place. When you first look at the stones here at Carnac, they seem to be in haphazard shapes. But on closer examination, we can see that most of the stones have been cut on one side or another. And in fact, these granite megaliths are magnetized with the earth, and nearly all of them come to a point.
Stone magnets? Is it possible that these stones were really cut and positioned in such a way as to create some sort of geomagnetic field? But why?
Carnac as a place is highly charged with energy. As you walk down these stone corridors, you can feel this charge. Many tourists who come here also like to touch the stones and feel the energy coming off of them. And the people who built Carnac must have been highly knowledgeable of the Earth's energy fields.
According to a concept known as the world grid theory, certain places on our planet contain higher magnetic forces than others.
An interesting coincidence for all the megalithic structures we have around the Earth is that they're placed at specific points that could be harnessing an ancient world energy grid.
There are certain spots around the world which have traditionally been sacred, hallowed, vortexes, energy feels different there.
The ancient stone monuments were built to harness that force and that potential to create a funnel-like vortex.
When we look at things like the Giza pyramids or Machu Picchu or Baalbek in Lebanon, all of these are placed at specific geocoded locations which relate to this world energy grid.
Could Carnac be one of these locations? And might the combination of geomagnetic properties and the unique shapes of the stones themselves have allowed ancient builders to actually manipulate gravity? If so, where did this knowledge come from? And what ultimate purpose did it serve?
It wasn't until we were able to see these stones from above in a helicopter that we realized that Carnac was meant to be seen from the sky above us.
And that is one of only 3 things that you can see from outer space. It's Nazca, Great Wall in China, and Carnac.
Were they meant to be seen by people in the sky? And who could have been flying at that time other than extraterrestrials?
Ancient astronaut theorists Giorgio Tsoukalos and David Childress are in the remote Marquesas Islands. They are searching for clues that may help them solve some of the most compelling mysteries concerning an island located some 2,000 miles to their east, Easter Island. A
think it's really fascinating that of all the standing heads in Easter Island, 7 of them actually point in the direction of the Marquesas. And so now the question is why? I think it's quite possible that the Marquesas and Easter Island are in fact connected.
But perhaps equally compelling, if not slightly disturbing, are numerous carvings found throughout the islands which depict strange, big-eyed gods known as Tikis.
So right now we are at the Tohu of Hikokua. The Tiki placed on site like this, like really sacred site. They were made to scare the people away because they were telling, hey, this is a very sacred site, so be careful. If you step on the side, if you do something wrong, then something bad is going to happen to you.
So I think if we are talking about extraterrestrials in ancient times visiting, and you follow the ancient stories when they came down with fire, smoke, and noise, that is the reason why they were afraid. There are multiple other versions of the exact same motif worldwide, with people with elongated skulls and giant goggle eyes. Like what comes to mind immediately is in Peru.
Yeah,
but-
Tiwanaku
Yes.
and Puma Punku, you have these same goggle-headed, eyed
Exactly.
people. You have that in Mexico too with the Olmec statues.
Yes. These may be depictions of actual extraterrestrials who visited the Earth thousands of years ago.
Eerily similar to the Tiki of the Marquesas, figures with oversized skulls and enormous eyes have surfaced at archaeological sites throughout the world. Among these are the Dogu figures of Japan, the Aboriginal Wajina petroglyphs of Australia, the terracotta figurines recently unearthed in northern Ghana, the trickster god Eshu of the Yoruba people of Nigeria, and the stunning petroglyphs of Karahunj, otherwise known as Armenia's Stonehenge.
So it does seem that Tiki, he's walking, he's living and breathing. He's not just a spirit, is he?
No, he's not a spirit. So they say that Tiki is not really a god, but he's not really a man also.
Aniata, thank you so much for showing us everything here. It's truly tremendous.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Have a nice travel.
Thank you.
September 2019.
So here we're just on the edge of Tamwen Island.
Amazing.
After docking on Pohnpei's Tamwen Island, ancient astronaut theorists Giorgio Tsoukalos and David Childress are now approaching the ancient ruins of Nan Madol by land. With them is Micronesia's National Historic Preservation Officer, Gus Kohler.
Okay, we're gonna make a left up there.
A left up here, okay.
This is it, huh?
This is it.
Yes.
To get an expert opinion on the construction of this staggering megalithic complex,
Let's do it.
Follow me.
they have enlisted UCLA Professor of Structural Engineering, Dr. Henry Burton.
I'm a structural engineer, so I think about how to design things to make sure that they move through structures in a way that they're stable.
You okay back there?
So my role is to bring a modern perspective on the structures that we're seeing here in Micronesia.
Wow, look at this.
Amazing, huh?
That's amazing.
I mean, look at some of those.
I know.
But I mean,
Look at that guy.
So here's this huge wall here full of prismatic basalt. How would you build that then today?
Well, you'd certainly need cranes, I can tell you that. Even for some of these smaller blocks, you're talking about on the order of tens of tons.
So how would you build this if you didn't have any cranes?
Well, that I can't think of any way that you'd be able to build this.
because one would argue perhaps this was done with some sort of scaffolding, but wouldn't you need really strong trees? and they don't really have strong trees here to build that type of scaffolding.
Yeah, it's a mystery to me. I can't imagine how it could be built without cranes.
So, Gus, what is your tradition of how they built these walls?
Well, according to our oral history, these rocks came from the north. We're in the southeast. This area is the southeast. And in fact, the recent studies has been able to collaborate that 40% of these rocks actually came from the north.
And that is distance-wise, how long, how far?
Up to 20 miles, maybe?
20 miles? Okay.
Just imagine moving that boulder right there. How many people would it take to move that? What kind of a boat would you have that you could put that boulder on?
Well, I mean, you'd be talking about a barge, right? So there are barges that hold up to hundreds of tons. They have hundreds of tons in terms of capacity. So that's what you're talking about. You're talking about basically shipping barges.
Giant shipping barge.
Yes.
Like what we have today.
Yes.
The idea that people actually drag these things across a rugged terrain or on rafts is absolutely preposterous, in my opinion. The bottom line is that it is an impossibility to move 250 million tons of basalt from one side of the island to the other without modern technology, without modern machinery.
As a heavy rain suddenly sets in, the team makes its way through the ancient site and towards a remarkable feature in one of the basalt walls.
So the weather here changes every 30 seconds.
Yeah, welcome to Punku.
For structural engineer Henry Burton, just as impressive as the size of the stones used to construct Nan Madol is the engineering knowledge the ancient builders must have had.
So what's interesting about this is if you look at the doorway in any modern building and you open up the walls, you'll find a beam directly over the doorway. And why this type of beam is important is because it supports all of the load that's above it. It's called a lintel, right? So that's actually a structural element that's used in design. This is interesting because this is actually in bending, right? It's subtle, but this is actually a bending action that you're seeing here. And it becomes a little bit more interesting when you have to do the design.
What type of mathematics or physics is involved here?
Well, there are several things you have to think about. So first, you'd have to think about the load that's being placed on this, right? Then you would have to consider the structural mechanics. So you'd have to consider the cross-sectional properties of this thing. You would have to consider the material properties. Now, if we're talking about sort of what governs the bending shape of this thing, then there's some actual calculus involved in understanding that.
Dr. Burton said that in order to calculate these stress levels, he would need advanced mathematics such as calculus. And that is a pretty tall order because even archaeologists would have to admit that calculus did not exist in the 1100 AD.
Outside the ruins of Sacsayhuaman, just a mile and a half from the Coricancha Temple in Cusco, are little-known entrances to underground passageways dating back to the Inca. Many of the openings have been covered up and sealed for public safety, but a few still remain accessible. In 2017, David Childress visited the site of one of the remaining open tunnels.
There is a labyrinth of tunnels beneath Cusco, and they extend for hundreds of miles in every direction. And some of these tunnels even intersect. Over the years, these tunnels have been blocked off and sealed, but you can still access parts of this tunnel system, such as this tunnel here, cut through solid rock. Local legend says that the sun disk was transported out of the city through these tunnels. There's been a lot of speculation of where the sun disk was taken, and treasure hunters have been searching for this location for centuries.
Legends recount 3 myths as to how the sacred golden sun disk left Cusco. Some legends maintain that it was taken out through a tunnel system to Gran Patiti, a lost Inca village at the top of a mountain which the Spanish never ever found. Some maintain it was taken to Sacsayhuaman. And some maintain it was returned to Lake Titicaca, from whence it came.
Located more than 200 miles southeast of Cusco, at an elevation of over 12,500 feet above sea level, Titicaca is the highest navigable lake in the world and considered sacred to the local Andean population.
In the Incan creation myth, their god Viracocha emerged from Lake Titicaca. This goes along with ancient myths and legends that tell us that there's an etheric or ethereal city that's underneath Lake Titicaca. In light of this, it makes sense that the Incas returned their prized golden disc to the lake.
The temple was said to be a thing of imagination, a thing of wonder, until the year 2000. In the year 2000, a team of Italian divers and scientists ventured to the base of Lake Titicaca after finding a road of Inca stones. They followed the road for just less than half a mile into the lake and discovered a 650 by 150 foot temple underneath the waters of Lake Titicaca.
Standing alone in California's barren Mojave Desert is a towering 7-story boulder called Giant Rock. It is here that George Van Tassel's strange journey began in the 1940s, just 3 miles from where he would eventually build the Integratron.
Giant Rock is a 25,000-ton boulder that takes up 5,800 square feet and is, until recently, the largest freestanding boulder in the world.
This massive boulder has long been held sacred by local Native American tribes, who believe it to be a site of great power.
Spiritual vortexes like Giant Rock are known to be places where people can have extraordinary spiritual experiences, healing experiences, deep states of meditation. And what we find out at Giant Rock is that the local Native American Indian tribes, the Serrano and the Chemehuevi, would do their ceremonies at Giant Rock, but only the chief was allowed to get close to Giant Rock.
In November of 2019, ancient astronaut theorist David Childress traveled to the site of Giant Rock to meet with local historian Barbara Harris and learn more about the inception of the Integratron.
Hello, Barbara.
Hi, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me here. So, please tell me the story of Giant Rock.
Well, they say it is millions of years old. And basically, this whole area here is made up of granite. And many, many years ago, there's a volcanic eruption. And of course, this is the product of that volcanic eruption.
What is the early story of Giant Rock then with Native Americans?
Well, this ground was considered very sacred by the Native Americans, and they would come here and use it seasonally. But they considered it so sacred that only the shamans and the chiefs were allowed to stay here at the rock. At the turn of the 19th century, the homesteading and the white man started to come in.
And that has to do with this early prospector who lived under the rock.
Frank Kreitzer. And he was responsible for building the roads to Giant Rock.
In 1930, George Van Tassel had a chance encounter with prospector Frank Kreitzer at his uncle's auto repair shop in Santa Monica, which led to him investing in Kreitzer's mining operations in the Mojave Desert. Kreitzer was known in the area for his eccentric behavior, which included using mining dynamite to blow a hole in the bottom of Giant Rock, one big enough to live in.
He lived under this rock.
Yes, he was actually a guy who was looking for people to come and visit him under his rock. However, Frank, he also had a dark side to him. So in July of 1942, the US government had the old man's draft. And it required people between the ages of 18 and 64 to register for the draft.
And so he got caught up in that.
Yeah, he was 54, and the local sheriffs came out here, who happened to be friends with him, and offered to take him into the local town to register for the draft. He walked into a back room and came out wearing a pair of binoculars that had wires attached. And he basically said, leave me alone or we're all gonna go to hell together. And he took the two wires, put them together, and
Frank Kreitzer's bizarre and violent action shocked the local community. Many questioned if he may have been influenced by the energy of giant rock itself, which the local Native American tribes had warned was only meant for sacred purposes. And according to geologists, giant rock does, in fact, produce energy. The interior of the rock is white because it is primarily composed of quartz, a mineral that generates an electrical charge when under stress, as it would be inside a massively heavy rock. Giant rock is also believed to be located on top of a natural earth energy line, also known as a ley line.
George Van Tassel said the Integratron needed to be in a special place full of energy. We have a gold mine right nearby. This area has ley lines and aquifers. There's actually a mountain of quartz right here, and you can feel the energy when you're here.
On the northwest coast of France, just south of Brittany, lies one of the most important prehistoric sites in Europe. At the seaside village of Carnac, over 3,000 megalithic stones are placed in rows over 2 miles long. The Carnac stones were hewn from local rock formations and directed between 4,500 to 2,500 BC, at the end of the Stone Age. They are the largest collection of standing stones in the world.
Archaeologists are baffled by the many megaliths at Carnac here. It's clearly a massive construction project with blocks of granite weighing 50 to 100 to even up to 350 tons.
Although mainstream archaeologists speculate that the Carnac stones are most likely tomb markers, ancient astronaut theorists believe these stones are intentionally laid out in a unique geometric formation.
The Carnac stones were laid out incredibly precisely using standard units of measurement that show very sophisticated mathematics. It's been suggested that they were using the Pythagorean theorem thousands of years ago. It may elude us now exactly what they were trying to accomplish, but it seems like they were encoding some kind of information.
The Pythagorean theorem wasn't established until 2,000 years after the last Carnac stones were erected. So how could the builders have possessed this knowledge? And why were the stones arranged in such precise geometrical patterns?
The Carnac stones are a perfect marker for any kind of aerial vehicle looking down on the Earth.
The extraterrestrials told our ancestors, do this, move stones, put it exactly in this pattern, we order you. It was on purpose. The idea was that generations in the far future must start to ask questions. That's the situation we have today.
Landers, California, November 2019. Continuing his investigation of the Integratron, David Childress has arranged to meet with Bob Benson.
Hey, I'm David Childress.
A protege of Van Tassel's, and one of the only men alive known to have worked directly with him.
You knew George Van Tassel.
Sure did, yeah, and I got some things I'd like to show you.
Oh, good. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, all right. So I was living here at his house.
At his house?
At his house.
Which was at the Integratron, was
right.
it? And what was he like then?
Very down to earth, but he was very intelligent. He was wonderful.
While Van Tassel never disclosed the full details for building his rejuvenation machine, Benson attempted to create a model of it based on what he learned.
He didn't leave takeover instructions for anybody, so nobody knew what to do. So I looked for the research, and I couldn't find anything, so I had to go on my own. And what I did, I said, well, I'll start by building a model. It starts off very low like this. As it goes, it builds up to a part. It builds up, builds up, builds up, builds up, builds up, builds up, bang! And then this comes on. This is the spark gap. This is the regulator. See? Boom. Now it's regulated. And you walk through this little door right here. You walk around the back of it and out the other end there. And you rejuvenate instantly. This is a rejuvenation machine sent by extraterrestrials to help human beings.
So how close do you think that George Van Tassel was to completing the Integratron?
He says it was 95% done.
Doctor of Engineering Physics Tom Vallone is an expert in what is called bioelectromagnetic healing and has spent years studying both Nikola Tesla and George Van Tassel. Based on his research, he believes the Integratron was decades ahead of its time.
I would say that the genius of George Van Tassel is very evident in the design of the Integratron. He integrated a number of technologies that were slowly being evolved over the 20th century. The spark in the middle is the actual Tesla coil, and this is designed by Nikola Tesla to not only provide for the study of high voltage, but also biological benefits of being exposed to just Tesla coil frequencies. The design we have here is the best current knowledge that we have of finishing the Integratron design.
Considering what scientists now know about how electromagnetic frequencies and ions can benefit the human body, is it possible that George Van Tassel really was just weeks away from completing a working immortality machine? While Van Tassel was ahead of his time, he claimed to be tapping into knowledge from the ancient past.
He constantly referred to the Old Testament in regards to the references for angels and for God and the construction of the Integratron. But he was convinced from his extraterrestrial experiences that angels were space people.
And Van Tassel said that the instructions that he was given to build the Integratron were very similar to the instructions that Moses was given by the God Yahweh to build the tabernacle. So Van Tassel believed in ancient extraterrestrials and UFOs, and he saw all of these things as connected.
Van Tassel was particularly intrigued by the Great Pyramid of Giza, which he believed was built to utilize the piezoelectric properties of the quartz contained within its granite blocks. In the piezoelectric effect, electrical energy accumulates in rocks and otherwise lifeless matter.
We see even in George's writings that the pyramids were, to him, a powerhouse made of granite and therefore piezoelectric and very high energy accumulators. George was convinced that the pyramid structure was designed to rejuvenate people.
Van Tassel had computed that the site of the Integratron was also in line with the Great Pyramids, and that this area was a rare vortex where energies from beneath and above the Earth made it possible for us to be in contact with intelligences that we usually weren't able to easily reach.
Bolivia, South America. Here, 45 miles west of La Paz, isolated high in the Andes Mountains, lie the mysterious ancient ruins of Puma Punku. Spread across a desert plateau at an altitude over 12,000 feet, the megalithic stones found here are among the largest on the planet, measuring up to 26 feet long and weighing more than 100 tons each.
These are the mysterious ruins of Puma Punku, nearly 13,000 feet in the Altiplano of Bolivia. What you have here are massive blocks of granite scattered like some kids' toy blocks around the site. It's like some giant cataclysm just wiped out this entire area. Archaeologists are baffled by what Puma Punku was, how it looked, and what the purpose of this enormous structure would have been.
Mainstream scientists believe the site was originally constructed about 2,000 years ago. But in 1945, archaeologist Arthur Poznansky proposed that Puma Punku was much, much older. By examining the structures and what he believed were their original alignment with the stars, he dated the ruins to 15,000 BC.
Arthur Poznansky was a researcher who was part Bolivian. He had worked at the site for many decades, and he concluded that the site must have been built about 17,000 years ago by studying the archaeoastronomy of that particular site.
We don't know how old Puma Punku is. We have had some circumstantial dating, but we have been unable to date the stones of Puma Punku themselves. They could be thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years old. We don't know.
I think the fascinating thing about Puma Punku is how did these structures get built? We're talking about stone that is 25 feet high, stone that is hundreds of tons.
Puma Punku is so unique in the way that it was constructed and shaped and positioned that it is the most intriguing ancient site on the planet. Of all the places I've ever visited, Puma Punku is the one that I go back to time and again because no one can solve the mystery.
Mainstream scholars believe the andesite blocks found at Puma Punku were formed by hand with primitive stone tools. But some researchers point to the intricate stonework as evidence of the use of advanced precision technology.
One of the amazing things here at Puma Punku is the precision of the blocks. You can see with this block of granite that it's really been cut at very accurate right angles. Not only do these granite blocks have precision corners, but they also have these difficult drill holes that are going right through the rock.
But how could such primitive people, living perhaps tens of thousands of years ago, have produced such flawless stonework? Might the ancient builders of Puma Punku have fabricated the megalithic stones with advanced technology? Technology of an otherworldly origin, as ancient astronaut theorists believe.
If you look at the stones carefully and you get a magnifying glass on some of them, you can see some intricate stonework, as though they're using machine tools or even lasers. It's absolutely incredible. I've seen nothing like it anywhere on the planet.
When an architect or an engineer looks at Puma Punku, one thing jumps out immediately: that whoever built this place had knowledge of planning, of logistics, and had access to advanced technology.
You know, Brian, this is one of the most interesting and unusual stones here at Puma Punku. It's got these perfect right angles. And then each of these small drill holes are basically evenly spaced along this routed groove. To me, it's clear that power tools have been used on this unusual block of stone here.
Well, exactly, and this surface is as smooth as a tabletop, like in your kitchen. There's no wave to it or anything. This was machined. But who machined it? It's an astonishing piece of work, and how anyone could think that primitive human beings could have done this. You know, it's just crazy. If anything looks like ancient aliens, it's this stone.